Focusing in on Georgia, where, as you say, this has been an issue from the start. To put it in context, Brian Kemp purge triple the number of voters that made the margin of re-election in the last governor's race. So we are talking about something that could decide this race tonight. Everyone fired up about it. The news I have for you is a late-breaking lawsuit here just within the last 2 hours that is trying to remove Brian Kemp from overseeing the rest of this election. That's something that a lot of people have been talking about. We just heard Derek Johnson from the local NAACP talking to Tremaine Lee about similar efforts. So this is something that could also matter tonight or going forward if there's a runoff or certification. All of this relating to issues you've been covering when you look at the attempted cyber hack information that was put out that many people saw as basically lacking evidence as an effort to intervene, the voter purges, and some places we've seen today lines of hours in Georgia. So we're tracking all of this, and it's the kind of thing that, like so many other races tonight, if it's tight, these things could decide it. If there is a blowout in one direction or another, these issues tend to fade into the background on election evenings.
Now, Ari, let me ask you just about that lawsuit that you said was just filed. Obviously, this is election day. This is election evening. Polls are about to close and closing all over the country. I know from covering these issues, as you do, that the courts are always very reluctant, as a matter of Supreme Court precedent, to get involved in election matters too close to an election. I mean, what does it mean to have an election, to have a lawsuit filed on election night trying to get Kemp out of the middle of the election that he's running in?
Well, you're exactly right. The courts generally want to avoid anything that would look like them getting involved in the politics, but they also have a countervailing obligation to defend voters' rights. What this is specifically, and we just got off the phone with Larry Schwartzman in Georgia, is several voters saying remove Kemp.
Ari, thank you very much. Much appreciated, my friend.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.